Mr. Rochestie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Could be more excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's fantastic. So you're in Le Mans, France right now. You're currently playing basketball?
So I'm in the middle of season. I actually started the season in Belgrade, Serbia. I signed a 2 month deal because before that I had a contract to play in China.
Oh,
So I was waiting for my contract to go back to China, and then I found out that my family wouldn't be able to get a visa to join me. So then a coach who's a friend of mine who I played with before, he called me from Belgrade. He said, "Hey, why don't you come out, sign a 2 month deal, and with a caveat of anytime you want to leave to go to China, if you can get your family to go, you can just head out." And so after those 2 months were up, China's still closed as far as extra visas for family. And so I changed over to Tel Aviv, and I went there to be with my family. And then as soon as I got there, I realized that my family couldn't get there either. And so once I finally got them a visa, they closed the borders and closed the airport. And so I got a special permission to leave. And 2 days ago, I flew to Le Mans, France, where we have a home and where we got married, where my wife is from.
oh,
And then I'm here with her now.
wow. So is that a common thing to just do like 2 month stints here and there, and you just kind of bounce around, or how does that work when you're playing overseas?
I think the goal is to sign a couple year contract. I've always signed normally 1 year contracts. I think a lot of Americans will sign 1 year deals, kind of like "What have you done for me lately" type of feel out here. And just so either you can move up, move down, or if you're doing well with the team, they'll try to bring you back. But I've done 1 year deals, and then 2 month deals very rare. But I just did that deal because I thought I was going to go back to China, and this COVID thing is, I think it's affecting more people than just me, but it's definitely affecting me and the family and everything going on. So it's been pretty wild.
So you haven't, have you ever played in China before?
Yeah, I have. Actually, my daughter was born in China when I was playing there a couple years ago, and so wife and I, or she was about 6.5, 7 months pregnant, and we fully signed the contract to go to China. And she was rock and roll on board. And she said, "Let's do this. We don't have any expectations. We never had a kid anyway. What's it going to be different if we have the kid in China?" And so we went out there. I played there for a season. I actually went back for a summer. And then I went to Greece, and that's when COVID hit. My season kind of ended there. And then since then, I've been kind of bouncing around and trying to figure out what's going on with the world and trying to take care of my family. It's been wild.
That's a ballsy move, though, to just say, "Hey, you know what? Fuck it, let's have a kid in China." That's not. I love that you kind of downplayed that a little bit, but it's like it's kind of a big deal. I don't think a lot of people would say, "I'm comfortable having a child in China with billions of people and all the chaos that goes along with it."
Absolutely. The first thing I did was find out if they had an English speaking or American style hospital. And so as soon as I found that out, I was ready to sign the contract. I had the most incredible wife. Um, when I proposed to her, first proposed just to live together. I said, "Hey, we need to start living together. Let's figure out if this thing's real." She was like, "Okay, let's do it." 3 weeks later, I signed to live in the middle of nowhere, Russia. So our first year living together was in the middle of Russia. Then she got a taste of heaven because we went out to Tel Aviv and we spent a year there. She said yes to my proposal to marry her, and then we moved again to Russia. And then we've been all over the place. And then we had our baby in China. We had our second baby, which is my son, here in Le Mans, France. It's just part of the process, man. We've been all over the place and we've been loving it.
It's almost like a military family where you're just like she's sticking by you and you're bouncing around to all these different places. She obviously sounds like an amazing woman to be able to handle all of that and have it's different when you're a couple, but now with two kids in tow, it must be, I mean, a lot for her.
I think right now is the time that we're starting to feel it as a family the most. I think that the biggest thing is I've been away now 12 years from the states, as far as playing overseas. I was gone 5 years for college, transferred and ended up doing a redshirt year playing at Washington State. So I've been gone for a long time from home, and it never really felt like I was away so long because of FaceTime and because of the ability to travel around, the ability the games are on TV. My family's been amazing. They come to visit. But then as soon as COVID hit and you kind of are isolated to where you are, you feel a little bit distant. And I'm lucky because my wife is French. I feel at home in Europe. But then even being in Europe, I feel less at home because I can't just bounce from country to country or even city to city with COVID. So I think that's been a little more isolating, and we've been wanting to be around family more and wanting to be around more of our roots. And so, things are starting to change in the conversation now moving forward.
So in this process of, obviously being incredibly driven, and you live working your whole life to be a professional basketball player, how does that transition you into becoming a motivational speaker and an author?
I think perfectly, right? I think that's the typical. No, I I think I have so much curiosity for life. I've known since I was probably 6 years old that I want to be a professional basketball player. I think I'm the only sixth grader in the world that has a video of him saying, I want to play professional basketball overseas when I'm older. I didn't even know there were leagues overseas. I've always had this curiosity, not just for life, but for traveling. And I wanted to see lots of things, do lots of things. And as I'm not even transitioning, but as I'm getting older and I'm having all these experiences of playing in different countries, it's just opened my mind even more. And so constantly I'm thinking about what's next, because basketball can be taken away from me in a second. I've been thankful to play all this time, but injury could take me away. I could just kind of have that conversation with my family and say, hey, it's just time to stop. And so I'm constantly thinking about what's next and kind of dipping my pen into different inks and just trying to figure out kind of what fits. And this book that I wrote started off as just a letter to my daughter about the future. And I'm not even really a writer or an author, and it just kind of became that. So I think I'm just willing to take chances and just kind of see where life takes me, and just take risks and just enjoy life and go down different avenues.
So you hit the absolute paramount word for me, and it's curiosity. And
Mm.
it's so funny when I was ideating around the podcast, I like was like, what's my mission statement? What is this for me? What is this for my audience? And for me, I was like, and it's like I have it on my like little vision board, and it says, "Stay curious, seek truth." And it's
Wow.
something that for me, like, it's so many people, when you're a kid, you're constantly curious, and you're not afraid to make that left turn into something new and try something else. And like you, I grew up, I was a professional dancer, and I started doing that when I was 5 years old, and there was never a moment, and I'm sure and there's the only way you can be successful is to not have any doubt in your mind that you're going to achieve
Mm.
whatever that goal is, whether it's foolish optimism or belief in yourself or a mix of both. It's one of those things that has always carried me through, that belief in myself. But even, when you have a downturn or whatever, and being able to, it's how I ended up becoming a chef. I stopped dancing. I went through a shitty divorce, and I was like, okay, well, now what do I want to do? And my grandmother
Mm.
taught me how to cook when I was really young. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to culinary school. And I would have never done that had I not gone through a divorce and had that
Wow.
trip. And, it's just, I just think that I wish that more people could just keep that curiosity burning.
Yeah, you said it perfectly when you talked about kids. I write about in the book that kids create all these firsts for themselves because everything they're doing it's for the first time.
Mm.
They're, whether it's the first kiss or first time going to high school or first time doing this. And as we get older, we kind of lose a little bit of that curiosity because we feel like life is more of a repetition. And so I say we have to seek out first,
Mm.
even if it's as simple as going to a new coffee shop for the first time, stimulating a little bit of that excitement of trying something new, driving a new way to work, talking to someone that you don't usually talk to on the way to work, just having that curiosity. And for me, curiosity leads to authenticity, because when you're curious about yourself, you really try to seek the truth about what's going on inside. Why do I feel the way I feel, and not just what do I feel. And then curiosity creates authenticity, and then authenticity creates clarity. And as soon as you have clarity, you have purpose, you have motivation, you have inspiration, and it's just sky's the limit. You know exactly kind of what you want, who you are, and then you got to figure out how to get it.
My one favorite question to ask everyone is, what's your why?
Why not?
Even better.
I just
Okay.
I mean, constant perspective. I can take it as deep or as shallow as you want it. I had a really close friend of mine pass away when I was younger. Why him? Why now? Why us? Why are we here? I'm amazingly blessed. I talk again in the book about the idea of being constantly thankful. And constantly thankful doesn't mean you have something to be thankful for. I mean, we've all had a supporting cast that have helped us get here, especially having small kids. Somebody gave us bottles of milk, somebody put clothes on our back. And just to pay them back for all the hard work that they did. I mean, it's up to us just to be passionate, just to go out and enjoy life and push the limits, because we only have this life once, and every day should matter.
I completely agree, and I think that gratitude is something that really is missing from a lot of people. Someone gave me one of those journals, like the 5 minute journal, where you sit down and at the beginning of the day, you write two things that you're grateful for. And we get so caught up in our own bullshit where your book doesn't sell as well, you got bounced to a different team, had to get fired from a job, whatever that is, and you
Mm.
don't realize, if you just sit there and go, okay, still have a roof over my head, don't have to worry where my groceries are coming from, and just those little things kind of go, okay, like, because I mean, I'm someone who I dealt with anxiety throughout my performing career to just, but before I learned how to control it with my mind. And in that understanding and being gracious, it really does ground you. So I love that you have. Do you have like a meditation practice, or is there anything that you do? Like, what are your routines?
I think the biggest thing for me is, I'm preaching it now as much as I can, is the idea of a morning intake.
Mhm.
And the morning intake has to be the interior, um, vent the exterior. The interior has to influence the exterior. And the problem now with social media and external pressures is the first thing that we do when we wake up is we grab our phone. And it's not just a habit or an addiction. It's a little bit worse than that, because the first thing that goes into our mind, and it's consciously and subconsciously, is a bunch of external factors that can change the way we feel about the day. And it could be something as simple as not getting a text back, the weather. You could just see that it's not going to be a good day weather-wise, and you just kind of get bummed out, and you don't even know it before you even put your feet on the ground and realize, like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good, I have these things to be thankful for. Like you said, you got a journal, and hey, let me just journal a couple of things that I'm thankful for, before I realize that my Instagram picture didn't get that many likes, or I realized that the stock market doesn't have a good projection for the day, and that might affect the way that I'm living. So having that amazing morning intake, that just check in with myself first and just say, hey, how am I doing? Like I said, using that authenticity to create clarity. So it's just like, what do I want from my day? And then not let anything get in the way.
Are you a list person? Do you like the night before, or like you just how do you? What's your process for that? For getting things done?
Just write stuff down. I did an interview yesterday, and they talked about how do you turn dreams into reality. And it said you write it down, you make it tangible, you make it able to see step one, step two, step three, because most of the things we think in our mind, it either gets too crazy in our mind and we can't kind of create a pattern for it, or we can't create a rhythm for our life and we kind of need to see it written down, or it just gets overworked. We're just too crazy and we're like, hey, that's too far away, it's too impossible, and you create goals. And so I'm a huge preacher of goals instead of expectations. And so instead of having expectations of the outcome, I have incredible goals for the journey. And so just focusing on the journey every day.
So, what's your number one goal right in this moment?
My number one goal is to be as authentic as I can, and to be the incredible inspiration to my kids, my wife, and the people that I'm surrounded by. Because as I learned being a dad, these kids are like sponges, so they're learning something from me every day. And the really scary and honest question is, what are they learning? What are their habits? So my goal, which I just developed recently, is trying to create generational happiness.
Mhm.
And you think about generational wealth and being able to pass down something to your kids. And I just kind of created this idea of generational happiness. It's like they're going to pick up the traits and they're going to pick up the cues that can create that generational happiness. And they're not even going to know where it came from. They're just going to have witnessed it and taken it in like a sponge, year after year and day after day.
I was just having this similar conversation where with another female entrepreneur who I had interviewed, and she was saying she thought that once she got to this level of her bank account, it would be then she'd feel secure, and then she went through ups and downs and losing money, and we kind of broke it down, and I kind of coined this new term, which we were talking about generational. I was saying it's almost like your emotional bank account. Like that's something
For
that's
sure.
you can bank emotions and bank positive feelings and be able to pass that down. And especially I'm a new dad as well. They are such little sponges, and every little nuance of and they're watching everything. And even when you don't think they're watching, and then it's so funny to see it come to fruition where my son will do something and it's something that I do and I'm just like, how the like what? I didn't even know. I didn't think had even taught him that. Or I'll see him. He has these little intricacies where he's like lining things up, and I'm like, oh my god, he's OCD too. So, like, the way their little minds work is just so. It's so such a gift.
It's incredible. For me, it's simple, and a lot of people have that anxiety. For me, it's I'm looking to find success through happiness, and I'm not trying to find happiness through success. So the person that you were talking to, they're trying to find that happiness, and they think success normally is what the public says success is, because that's what we develop and learn to be success. And so that generational happiness that I'm trying to pass down is that happiness is that success, and that should be the benchmark. And then everything you bring into your life is joyful and happy, because that's the benchmark, and so that'll lead you to success. And so especially living overseas, you look back at the people in the States, you're like, wow, you're not really taking many days off of work, you're always constantly looking for that next promotion. When are you going to realize that like happiness needs to be that key ingredient, and you need to go out there and seek success with that, baseline of happiness?
I love that. So how did basketball ready you for this book?
Man, basketball. Well, first of all, it gave me the time to write. So I'm doing a lot of traveling. I did a lot of writing actually while I was in China. It has a kind of like an MBA schedule, so I was constantly on the road, constantly on trains and planes, and spending time by myself. I tried to develop this thing before the book that every year I was going to pick up one new thing a season outside of basketball. So I was trying to learn guitar at a moment. My wife is French. I was trying to learn French for a moment. And then one day I was just trying to write, and then it turned into a book. So, first of all, it gave me the time. Um, Basketball is definitely about the way the outside world sees you. It's got those ups and downs. It's got wins and losses, and everything is being critiqued. And so that was kind of like my motivation for my daughter. I was like, man, this is a crazy world that she's coming into, because from the day that kids are born, they're on social media and they're being critiqued from an early age. And people are saying, wow, that's a cute baby. That's a big baby. That's a smart baby. And it's just like, it's almost unfair to them. So, what kind of world are they going to pick up? And basketball helped me create that thick shell and realize that I need to know who I am inside. So I'm not, defined by the outside world, and then pass that on to my daughter.
What position do you play?
Point guard.
So you're running the show.
I like to think so. It just
No,
it
but
just
I mean,
depends.
it's funny because I mean that obviously translates into being able to be a big picture, see the vision of all of the things. Talking about
Oh,
2020.
so you think I also run the show at my house, huh?
I was just gonna say be able to motivate people because from a leadership,
Got you.
I'm
Got you. Got you.
sure you're not running that. Not with a French.
I think it right now it probably goes my daughter, then my son, and my wife, and me. But I'm batting cleanup, so I can't be too sad about
No, but I mean, as a point guard, you have to be able to see, the floor, and you have to be able to anticipate. So I'm sure that translates into, being able to obviously have a great family, being able to inspire people. I mean,
it. Yeah.
it's a very motivational role. So it seems like a natural, even though it does seem, it's not, doesn't seem like a natural transition. It almost does in a way because you are you literally have to have 20/20 vision on the court to be able to see
Yeah.
all the different plays and how things develop. So I think it's an amazing setup for what you do right now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And one other thing is, I talked in the book about having scouting reports in sports, and you probably know a little bit about that. But for the people that don't, a scouting report just kind of says, your strengths and weaknesses, each individual, and then the team that you're going to be playing against. And I talk about that's the same in life, where we really have to understand who we are, our strengths and weaknesses. We have to surround ourselves with a team, surround ourselves with coaches, surround ourselves with an environment that promotes our strengths and doesn't go crazy about our weaknesses and actually helps our weaknesses. And so you really need to understand life like you understand basketball. And I've definitely always been a mindful player. Other people have been faster than me, stronger than me, taller than me, or whatever it might be. But I've always had to use my mind, and then I think I do that on and off the court.
Well, it's funny too because you see, I mean, how many teams have you seen where they just seem stacked with all superstars and can't get the result they want because they're not playing as a team? And it's knowing what your strengths are, being able to play to those strengths, and being able to adapt to the team is I think it's a crucial lesson for obviously any professional team, but also for life because you're going to be in those situations every day, whether you're in work, whether it's your family. You have to understand, you know, what my role is and how I can best play it to serve the greater good.
Big time. And that plays huge into communication. And so highlighting strengths within relationships is just massive. And so from a business standpoint, from an interpersonal relationship, from a romantic relationship, whatever it might be, um, being able to highlight strengths publicly, privately, is just massive towards creating close bonds and good relationships.
So, what is your favorite place that you've lived so far?
I think I have to say Le Mans, France, kind of where I'm at
Right.
right now. Part of the reason why I'm playing in Tel Aviv right now is because my wife and I absolutely love the city. I really loved being in Berlin, Germany. And I think if I was going to live one place outside the States, I think it would be a place in southern Athens in Greece, a town called Glyfada. And it's such an amazing place that I was playing there last year for a team called Olympiacos. And it was an amazing place to have a kid. Um, very family oriented, family friendly, great weather, obviously a beautiful country and a beautiful city, but great people. And I just had a great time there.
Olympiacos, that's like a very, very popular team, right? I feel like I've heard that name.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that they're like,
So yeah, it was an amazing team. They have an incredible fan base, and that's why it was a bummer because that's where I was when COVID hit. Um, we were actually flying to go play against Milan right as it kind of got going, and that was the first hot spot out in Europe. And I was telling my teammates, I'm like, guys, we're not going there to play this game. I think it's a little bigger than we all think it is. And so we flew. We decided we were going to play them in Berlin instead of Milan. We fly there, we land, we get new tickets, and we just fly home. And 3 days later, the season basically was over. So I was really bummed out not to finish there because it's a great team, great fans.
what did you learn about yourself during COVID?
Vulnerability is massive. Reach out to people, talk to people, communication with people is huge. Um, it's not that you can't do it alone. Why do you want to do it alone? There's so many amazing people, and if you don't need them, they need you. um, and so everybody has their own experience going on, and you just got to be vulnerable, especially having kids too. I've learned that. So you just have to reach out to people. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have the feelings that you have. It's okay to be frustrated. But then what are you going to do with that? I asked them pretty repetitive questions in the book. It's just like, okay, then what? Okay, then what? And so you can go down the frustrated side. You say, man, I'm upset. My season's finished. Okay, then what? Well, then I don't get to play basketball anymore. Okay, then what? And you kind of go down that route. And instead, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to figure out something else to do. Okay, then what? Well, I'm going to get motivated about this. And you can kind of take it two different directions. And I learned that, you can be the victim, or you can just say, hey, okay, today's a new day. How can I make the best of today? And that was just a thing that a lot of people know. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but it's something that it's right in your face now. And it's like, hey, everything that was me before was just stripped away. So I really do need to reinvent myself because I'm not an athlete anymore because I don't have that job. I'm not a son because I can't be over there with my dad or with my mom in the States. So who am I in the place that I am, and what am I going to do about it?
I love that. I love that. So, when would you know, or when does somebody who's pursued a profession their entire life with the greatest passion ever know when to walk away?
I think some people know in a moment. I think some kind of prepare for it. Um, and I think it's different for everybody else. I can't give you that answer because I haven't felt it yet. Although dealing with the situation this season and being away from my family for a couple months because we couldn't get them a visa and they shut down the airport. When I landed here in France just 2 nights ago and came and I saw my family, my wife, and my two kids, it was the first moment when I was thinking to myself that it's not that I want to finish playing, but I would be 100% okay because after all that's going on, I think people are realizing what truly matters. And as long as I'm with the people that I love and doing the things that I love, everything's going to be fine. But I really, really have a big passion for basketball, and I want to see, where else it will take me. I think the biggest thing I'm missing right now is the fans. Part of life is being able to inspire and be inspired, and it's less inspiring, without having fans there. It's a little more like a practice game. So I really would like to see the fans get back in the arenas as soon as possible, and that will extend the career.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of that inspiration, obviously now you're mentoring a lot of people. You have written an incredible book that kind of pushes people to be better. And who was your mentor? Or who are your
It's the
mentors?
same. I think it's the same response. People ask me who my favorite basketball player is, and I just say I try to learn a lot from a lot of different players. It's easy to say that, and lucky to say that I have two mentors in my parents. I have incredible parents that not only love me and always supported me and believed in my dreams, but were intelligent and curious and creative and love to travel. I would say that my best friend through it all and my mentor growing up was my brother. Um, he's 2.5 years older than me. He's the only older brother that never, punched his younger brother or really ever got in a fight. He was picking me on the basketball court before picking his friends, and I was a really annoying younger brother. Um, so he paved a different path that no other older brother was doing, and he never had a problem with it. And it was almost so natural for him that it felt natural to me. And as I learned more about siblings and more about rivalries and more about kids in general, it's just so unique and authentic the way he was with me growing up. And I think that opened my mind to just being myself and living my own path and kind of doing it the way that I want to do it. And I always felt supported doing it, not only by my parents, but my brother who is closest to me. Obviously, now I find so much inspiration from my kids, and especially my wife, who's with me every step of the way. And I couldn't be doing this without her.
That's amazing. When did you know that you were special as a young player? Were you, because obviously you have a brother that's older than you. I'm sure he balled as well. Was it when was the point where you kind of you usurped his 'cause it's probably good to like be feel like you're better than your older brother.
Um, I think our record one-on-one is like seven thousand
I
to
was gonna
one.
ask
I
you.
think the one time I beat him, he was just like, actually, basketball is not even my best sport because he's an incredible tennis player. So he's just like, I'm just gonna go play tennis now, and I still have the record for most wins. So I think that was a huge part of it. I knew that I could play well because I was always playing with him and his friends, and he was a couple years older, and I was playing right there with them. And obviously, at a young age, a couple years is a big deal. Um, but I was nothing special, to be totally honest, because I wasn't the best on my team until maybe junior, senior year of high school. I was surrounded by some good players. Always believed in myself. Always knew that I was going to be going to the next level. Wasn't recruited out of high school really. Wasn't that highly recruited out of college really. And so I like having that underdog mentality. I carry that through basketball, and I definitely carry that in life.
Where does that drive come from?
I have, I guess the best answer is I have no idea because um, part of me just always had it, and it was just who I was. A lot of kids took that as cocky or overconfident as a kid. For me, it was if I didn't win, let's play again. And I would tell you straight up, I'm going to beat you next time. And even if I'm not going to beat you, I just had this idea that I wanted to compete. And maybe it comes from having an older brother as well, just because I always wanted to be able to play with him and his friends, and I always wanted to be able to compete. I always looked up to him. So if I didn't really realize that it wasn't normal to be able to compete with him and his friends, and so he was in the backyard jumping, trying to touch the rim and trying to dunk. And I was trying to do the same thing. And I was a lot smaller and I was a couple of years younger. So it could be from that.
I love that competitive spirit. There's one of my favorite. It's a Tom Brady quote. He always says, he's like, he hates losing even more than he likes winning. And I think that that's just
Yeah.
the true mindset of a champion. What would you say your biggest fear is?
I don't totally have fears. If I do, I mask them really well. It comes from the Bible. Actually, it talks about perfect love drives out fear. So
Mm.
I feel if I'm truly loving what I'm doing, if I'm giving my full effort and giving my heart, and I'm passionate about the things that I'm going after, I think it drives out fear. In the book, I talk about fear fades when you actually leap. Fear is in the looking, not in the leaping.
Mm.
I talk about going to a ropes course as a kid. A lot of kids go to the ropes course and there's that big trust jump at the end and you got to go grab onto that bar. And people literally start crying and they freeze up with fear up on that ledge. But nobody really cares when they're actually jumping from the bar, because they realize as they're jumping that they're going to rappel down and be safe regardless. And so it doesn't matter if you catch the bar or not. Not to mention, just go on social media and check out every successful person that talks about how many times they failed, how many times they looked stupid, how many times they had an idea and everybody told them they were dumb and turned away from them. And so, what is there to be fearful about? Um, I guess the only thing would be, I want to see my kids grow up. I'm fearful of not being around. I have a job that's tough. I'm away from them, so I guess if I had to pinpoint a fear, it would just be missing something, missing the first walk,
Mhm.
uh, missing something important in their life.
So you referenced the Bible. Is spirituality a big part of your life?
Absolutely. It's number one. It was tough to keep it out of the book, although there's a lot of references that people could draw comparisons to spirituality, or just having a faith in something more than yourself. I talk about that it's really important to believe in something more than yourself, to believe in a group, to believe in other people, to believe in curiosity, to believe in something, just having beliefs. But my faith is definitely my driving point. Um, and it keeps me balanced, definitely nothing too high, nothing too low. And there's just so many amazing things that you can take from the Bible. And but at the same time, I've traveled the world. I'm living right now in Israel. One of my favorite things is going over to friends' houses and having Shabbat dinner. I want to incorporate a Shabbat type of night at my house in the future. I'm very open minded to anyone and everyone. And one of the most amazing things about my faith is I don't believe that I'm better or worse than anybody. And I believe that we're all, equal, and that we should all be loving each other, which we could all, do a lot more of, especially now.
I'm all about a Shabbat dinner. I have so many really great Jewish friends, and we used to throw epic Shabbats when I lived in New York. We'd have people, we'd come over, and like some of the traditional people would say the prayers and do all the things. We'd break bread. We'd make the prayer over the wine, and then it would just turn into like kind of a rager. But it's nice because you're so connected. You're not worried about what's going on over here, who's calling me. I mean,
Mm,
what a blessing to just unplug and look around with the people that you love and actually make those connections. Because, like you said, first thing we get out of we get up and we're looking, we're scrolling. And you said before you
yeah,
hit the ground, you've already shaped how your day is going to turn out, and it's you're just crippling yourself and handicapping yourself from the start. Um,
yeah,
I just to
yeah.
the spirituality thing. Jerusalem was one of my favorite places that I've ever been in my life. And I always tell people they need to go there. I don't care what you believe in, who you pray to, whatever it is. There's such a palpable energy there, and so much
Oh, yeah.
you can you can feel it vibrating in the air. There's just culture upon culture, and I don't know. It's just one of the most inspirational places that I've ever been. So I'm glad to hear that you love it so much over there.
It's one of those places that does not disappoint. I keep thinking about how life must have been before social media and seeing everything online, to think about a place and to get on a plane and fly there and really see it for the first time, without seeing 1,000 pictures of it before you go. And then so now you're kind of jaded because you research all about it, you know everything there is to know. You kind of have the top 10 things to do in that city. And that's one of those places you show up, and I don't care how much you prepared for it. It is so overwhelming. Like you said, it doesn't matter what you believe in. There's a spirituality that's just like flying through those little cool corridors,
Oh,
and
the old city.
all those buildings.
Yeah, the old city, just wandering around there, and it's just so funny that every quarter has such a distinct energy. And I was in the Arab quarter, and I remember, or the Muslim quarter, and I remember just I would follow these women around, and like I'd see them with their little lists, and they would, and of course, as a chef, I'm like, okay, who's the spice person I need to go to? Where's the, kebab place? This guy's making hummus, and that's the great thing too. Like one person does one thing so well and they focus on that. It's like this guy, all he does is spices. This guy, all he does is kebabs. The people over here, all they do is hummus, and they just work their ass off to make the most every day, make the most perfect, you know, iteration of their product. And I don't know, I was just amazed. And I remember, just like I said, I was following these ladies around, and I would see them, and I don't speak, I speak a little bit of Hebrew, but I don't speak any Arabic. And so I was in there, and I'm like, kind of just pointing and doing this, and like, yeah, whatever she had, just give me that and tell me what it's for. And I just remember just playing around, and it's just, the curiosity thing. But I just love that city.
Well, I like experiencing first, and you're a chef, so if I were to go to some place, where's the best place to find spices or to find some type of local food that would just blow my mind?
In Israel,
Anywhere you've been, number one spot.
I think that was one of the most inspiring places, walking through Machane Yehuda, the market, and just
Mm.
seeing all of the different vegetables and things that I wasn't familiar with. But when I was in that Muslim quarter, I remember I just took a chance. I was like, I don't know what that spice is. I don't know what that is. Just you hand it to me, and I would just play around. And so it's more of just a trial and error thing. And I didn't have a bad meal the entire time that I was in Israel.
That is something that I definitely tell to everybody, and I don't know who's having what experience. Even now that everything is shut down and I'm having things delivered, I'm still having things delivered to the house, and still after every meal, I'm like, wow, that was good. That was amazing food. It just has really, really incredible food here.
And for the price point, that's the thing. Like I've traveled all over the world, and I find that like my favorite places to eat were in Italy, because I felt like no matter how much you spent, whether it's €5 or €500, you get a phenomenal meal. You
Yeah.
travel places, if you're in like Paris, like everything's expensive. It's like, okay, if I'm spending €100, it better be the best thing. There's nothing worse than spending that much money on something and it's not great. So I'm much more impressed with, oh, this little kebab place, and this costs however many shekels or whatever. It's like that's I always search those things out, because if you're gonna pay a lot of money, you're most likely going to get great food. But like finding,
Uh,
go ahead.
I know, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I've been on the butt end of both sides, where I got like a 250 € bill in the middle of Paris, and they said, "Oh, do you know where you are? This is this building." And I said, "That's great." I had like two croque monsieurs and like three beers and a coffee or something. I was like, "Wait a minute." Um, but the thing I like the most about Tel Aviv is anybody you talk to, they're like, oh, this place just around the corner is amazing. Just around the corner, just around the corner. Wherever you are, there's some just amazing places just around the corner. You don't have to travel far to go to some place. You can really stop in on almost any spot. It's gonna be great food.
And it literally is little holes in the wall. That's what I love about that part. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like weaving through. In Paris, is more of a, it's grand, and it's Paris, but I love like the little hole in the walls. So
Mm.
what's your most treasured possession?
My most treasured possession. Um, and it would have to be a physical thing, huh?
Maybe
I
whatever
have two.
comes to you.
I definitely don't view people as possessions, so I can't, talk about my kids and things like that. I had my mom and my dad each individually gave me a ring when I graduated college. I have both of those rings, what it looks like, tattooed on my body, a couple tattoos. It really meant a lot because they both represent their side of the family. And so I just absolutely love my family, and I love who I am because of who my family is. I'm very proud. So having that is amazing. And actually, my brother got me a Secret Santa gift a couple years ago, and he gave me these little wings as a necklace. And I have to say it here because we're talking. I don't know where it is at the moment. I'm sure I still have it, but it was just like this perfect gift that kind of hit exactly what was going on. I had it kind of represented my wife and my daughter at the time. It was like a big wing and a little wing, and it was just so meaningful and just kind of exactly what I wanted at that time. I don't have too many things that I consider just like my possessions, and I want to get to the point where I could just walk away from everything. But at the same time, I live out of suitcases. I've been overseas for 12 years. I just recently got a place in France, and don't really call any place legitimately my home where I've been for over 15 years or 20 years. And so I'm constantly in a suitcase. So to have possessions like that doesn't really exist. I don't have that mantle that has things on it.
So what does home mean to you?
My wife. So we had my brother and my cousin called it three brides for three brothers. We all got married within 3 weeks. I proposed first. I had my wedding the end of July. My brother proposed after, my cousin after that, and they're amazing. And they had the weddings at that time because they didn't want to go before me since I proposed first, and they wanted me to be there. And so it had to be in the summer before my season began. And so we got married within 3 weeks, and we had a joint bridal shower where the guys kind of showed up at the end, and the girls were doing their thing, all three girls. And it was really, really cool because they're really close. And they asked us guys to prepare one word to describe, our soon-to-be bride. Wow. And my word was home, because with 12 years being overseas, I've played for 13 different teams, or I don't know how many different teams in different countries, constantly moving. Wherever we are together, that's where home is. And we're going to create a home wherever we are. And that's been our mentality.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. So what would you say is, give me your number one takeaway from 2020 Vision?
Number one takeaway, that's good. Whatever you're actively seeking, you're going to find it. If you're actively seeking a better life, I believe you're going to find it. I believe there's a lot of different avenues to find it. I don't have I like somebody, if I were to show up and say, hey, I have the answer, I have a framework that gives you an idea to open up your life, because we're all different, and what works for me doesn't work for the next person. So if you take a word, if you take a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, this book has something for everybody. And it has a key to a part of your mind, a part of your heart, a part of your soul that's going to unlock something. And if you want it, if you actually want it, if it's authentic and you're seeking it, then you're going to find it.
I love that. I love it. Taylor, you are an incredible inspiration. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know that we're in different time zones, and you really made it happen. I'm super, super honored to have spoken with you. And it's definitely not going to be the last time, because you're one of those people I was just like, I just vibe with this guy. Like, we have so much similarity, and you're inspiring me right now. So I'm so excited with how much you're going to keep inspiring people with this book and the next book and whatever that is. And I'm sure you're probably going to have a podcast one day, because I feel like that would be, a place where you could really shine.
Well, I got to be honest with you. This is one of the coolest things about writing this book, because part of being active in your own happiness is realize that you can surround yourself with positivity. And so I'm starting to follow different people on social media. I'm starting to connect with different people. And now it's almost impossible to go a day without positivity just constantly on my screens. And you're one of those people that is now constantly coming across my screen, and just being able to be a part of your message, the things you're doing, and be a part of communicating with people like you has kind of reshaped everything for me and created even more happiness. So thank you too.
That's awesome, Taylor. Thanks so much, and good luck in the basketball career. Hopefully all of the fans come back soon, because I'm sure you got a pretty good fan base over there. And it's been an honor to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, brother.